Hello everyone. In this video we're going to take a look at a simple example of a while loop in Matlab. So let's take a look at the details. In Matlab, use a while loop, find the smallest integer s which is larger than the square root of 2345. Okay, so simple in this context just means that the code isn't going to be too long. So nothing sophisticated, nothing complicated, just a few lines of code using a while loop. Okay, so the problem is oversimplified a little, so we can just have a little bit of a play around and experiment with these while loops. Okay, so we want the smallest integer s, which is bigger than the square root of 2345. So first of all, the temptation is to go into Matlab, go into the command window and type square root command, sqrt, the number 2345 and hit enter, and we get around 48.4. So we know the answer is 49, or the square root is between 48 and 49. That's not the point. We're looking to build up some ideas here, and we want to build on those ideas. And also, the question does say use a while loop, so we'd have to do a bit better than that. So we have the luxury of knowing the answer, but we haven't got there yet with the while loop. Okay, so to use the while loop, or just to build code in general in Matlab, you need to think in terms of processes or algorithms. And once you've got to this stage, then writing the code, it just feels a bit easier. So we can see from the question, S goes from, the integers. We're going to be looking from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up. We want to find the smallest one that is bigger than the root 2, 3, 4, 5. So one thing we could do is start to square those numbers. So we could say, right, take the first number, which is 1, square it. Is this bigger than 2, 3, 4, 5? It's obviously not, so move to the next one. 2 squared. Is that bigger than 2, 3, 4, 5? No, it's not. Keep going. So 3, 4, 5, and keep going until you get to a number that is bigger than 2, 3, 4, 5, and this will be your answer. Okay, so that sounds maybe quite a long-winded way of approaching the problem, but it's very easy to explain. If you can explain it in a clear way like this, then you can write code that does it. So if you go through this, say in your head with pen and paper, you get to 48, it'll be less than 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you go to the next one, 49, it'll be bigger. So these are the key numbers, 48 and 49. So all these ideas are just something going on in my mind at the moment that's going to help me build the code. That's all that's going on at the moment. Okay, so while loops in general, the syntax for these, I have it over 3 lines, but it can be more. You can put lots of commands in the middle. So the top and the bottom are pretty much the same thing. You have a while, you have a test, and at the end you have to end the loop. So line 1, while some logical test. The test is either true or is false. So you can ask things like, is this number bigger than this one? Either yes or no. Is this number bigger? Is it smaller? Is it the same? All different kinds of tests that will result in a yes, no answer. So line 1, if the logical test is true, Matlab will go to the next line. There'll be some commands there, and it will execute them. Then what it'll do, it'll go back up to the top line, and it'll repeat. So certain variables will update in those commands in between the while and the end, and it goes back to the top line and says, right, is this test still true? And if the answer is yes, it'll go to the commands again and run them again. Again, I'll go after this run those commands, it'll go back up and it'll just keep going until the answer is no or false. And when the conclusion is false, Matlab will then exit the loop. Okay, so that's the idea of the while loop. So for us, how we're going to build code using those ideas that I just discussed. I think there's two ways of doing it. So I'll do the best one first. Here's my code. If you go to the command window, so the while loop is line 2, 3, 4. So so the idea is I'm going to start at the first number, positive integer 1. I'm going to square it. So firstly, I need that number stored in Matlab. So line 1, s equals to 1. Okay, this is called initialization. You're just giving the variables you plan on using some initial value. So when tests are run, there's something there. Okay, they're going to be updated later. So the first number is 1. Matlab goes to line 2. 1 squared is 1. Is this less than 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes, it is. So go to the next line. Line 3. S equals s plus 1. Mathematicians tend not to like this too much. If you're from a computing background, this seems very normal. Okay, the way you think about this is the s on the left-hand side is the variable name. So we're reassigning s. And everything on the right, these are the values. So if s is 1, on the right, s plus 1, so now s becomes 2. Okay, so the commands are executed on line 3, back to line 2. S is 2, is 2 squared less than 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, it is, that's true, so go back down to line 3. So the new s is the old s plus 1, the current count is 2, so now go to 3. Matlab will go back to line 2. Is 3 squared less than 2, 3, 4, 5? It is. So she's going to keep going and going and going. There's quite a bit of computation. We know these numbers. Between 48 and 49, something's going to happen. So when s is 48, you square it. It's going to be less than 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next line will be executed. S will go to 49. When you run that number on line 2, the answer will be false, and the loop will then be over, and Matlab will go to line 5 and print 49. Okay, that's basically what's going on in this loop. So I said there's another way of doing it. I don't like this one as much, but still it works. So this bit of code assumes that you can take square roots of numbers. You have access to commands to do this. So if we assume that we have that, then the question's a bit pointless, because we could just take the square root of 2, 3, 4, 5 and we're done. So we have to ignore the issues with oversimplifying here. It doesn't matter. Let's take a look at it. So initialization on line 1, I've picked t, I've set that to 1. And then what I've done on line 2, I've said, I've pretended I don't know the square root of 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've said, is 1 less than this number? If it is, go to line 3, add 1, so now t goes to 2, go back to line 2, is 2 less than this number? It is, okay, so back to line 3, t goes to 3, is 3 less than this number? And you see what's going on here. At some point, you will have the answer no. So we know that is 49. Is 49 less than the square root of 2, 3, 4, 5? No, it's not. It exits, and line 5 is executed, printing t equals 49. So they're the two approaches. I like the one on the left, but they both give some insight into while loops, and that was the whole point of the exercise. Okay, so the final answer, I'll just say a few things about that. So I've used the editor window in lines 1 to 4 is just about formatting, just to make it look nice. So when I run it, I can find where the example is. So I've used the display command, and I've underlined things, and, kind of made it the way that I like it. Line 5, 6, 7, 8. This is this is where the main work is done. So I just mentioned this. Matlab will go through from line 1 to line 4 very quick, and then it does line 5, 6, 7, 8, going through that process I just discussed of squaring and comparing with 2, 3, 4, 5. Once that's finished, then I've just put a few extra lines in, line 9, 10, and 11. I'll just say a bit more about those. So line 9 speaks for itself, just display the answer so I know what it is when I run the code. You can build on this a little, you can put some text in your output. So I'll just say something about line 10 and 11. So 10 and 11, they're exactly the same output, just two different ways of getting there. So I'll say what I did for line 10. So I've used the display command. So I'm just printing some information, and I've set this up in a vector because they're 3 pieces of information that I'm interested in. So the middle piece is just a string. It's just some text. It doesn't change. So I can put some quotation marks around that, and that will then print in the output, and that just looks the way I want it to look. The outside parts, the first and the third component of the vectors, I don't know what the numbers are until I run the code. So I want these to be S-1 and S. If you put S-1 and S and the quotation marks, it'll just print S-1. Actually, we want the values for them. So I've had to use some extra commands. This is the int to string. So what this does just speaks for itself, right? It takes an integer and it converts it to a string. So you don't have to use those quotations. So S is 49. So 48 and 49 will appear either side. Okay, so that's my code. And if you hit run in Matlab, the output is as follows. So you've got the editing, just some text that I like to use. So this was just a simple while loop, so I put that. The test your understanding to, that's just the name of the file in Matlab. It just gets printed at the top. The 49 is coming from line 9, so it's just printing the answer after the while loop. And that bit of text there at the bottom is coming from line 10. If you take away the percentage sign from the front of line 11, it produces exactly the same thing. So if you prefer fprintf, there's some code there to take a look at. I think it just makes it look a bit nicer in the output. So there you go. There is a so-called simple example of a while loop. I hope you find that useful.